Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to everybody. Let me start by saying I'm really grateful for Iraqi Embassy in London, which organized this event, and I thank His Excellency the Ambassador and his staff. I'm sure they have put a lot of effort and organization work to it. Second, I like to really congratulate my friend, Mr. Sami al-Araji. I think he works very hard. And secondly, I think he went through many events very quickly. He pointed out many things which it was at the back of my mind to mention it. But I think what is important, he has produced a list of all the investment, all the working place in Iraq, which are open for investment and open for either inside or outside commercial organizations to take it up. Secondly, I think he has, at the same time, has modified certain rules and regulations which could support, especially not only the state projects, also private enterprise. So I congratulate him on that because I'm in touch with him probably on weekly basis in Baghdad. Well, again, I said thank you very much for inviting me for this conference. I think this conference comes at a very critical time for Iraq and discuss subjects which is both important to Iraq and United Kingdom. Why I say critical? Because I think in front of us there are two major issues. One, aftermath of Daesh in Iraq, which I really want to send our congratulations and our pride in our forces and congratulate them and congratulate ourselves for getting rid of this cancer in Iraq and entire world. Second, I think there is another important issue which we have to take into consideration is the relationship between the regions, especially KRG, Kurdistan Regional Government, and the central government. I think all the outstanding issues are very important to be solved in a manner which can benefit the population. Iraq needs investment from developing countries. The developing countries which have expertise and capability and history of helping other countries. I think United Kingdom, which is at present undergoing the Brexit, is looking for promising new places and new opportunities as a partner in this issue. So I think it's both important for Iraq and United Kingdom to take up this opportunity. I know there are difficulties ahead, but I think all these difficulties within time hopefully can be removed. And let me say that Iraq is a very rich country. I keep saying this to everybody. And its natural resources probably is maybe one of the best in the world. It has tremendous potential and need almost everything. With this potential capability in Iraq, but at the same time, it needs almost everything. These needs are really, as they were quite well outlined by my colleagues, starts from infrastructures, services, housing complex, shopping malls, hospitals, services, apart from the bigger issues like oil industry, electricity, energy. All these are quite important to Iraq. Why did I say Iraq is rich? Because I think Iraq is all the natural resources which are benefiting mankind are available in Iraq. On the other hand, when I said it needs almost everything, still large population of Iraq suffers from poverty, bad management, endemic corruption, weak state institutions, political bickering, sometimes loneliness, lack of services, and squandering or wasting natural resources. And probably you hear it on the news and the media, and we have many times lack of security and public protection. And unfortunately, the richness of Iraq has not been translated to tangible results. Iraq has not benefited from its wealth. And another point which I keep mentioning, all our problems in Iraq are man-made. When I say man-made, either due to political complexity or from really the power struggle between various groups. Iraq has never suffered from natural resources, floods, earthquakes, famine, but most of the problems which have occurred in Iraq, it has been through man-made or power struggle. To really improve the situation in Iraq, there are certain steps which we have to take. I'm not that pessimistic, but I think without realizing the problems, we cannot solve our either economic or material or service problems. We need, on the political level, reforming political institutions to increase transparency, accountability. Iraq is holding regular elections, but really the public or individuals don't recognize who represents them. And they cannot approach the officials for solving their problems. And at the same time, they probably don't know what is the proper channel to solve the problems. So I think our electoral system has to be redesigned. It has to be redesigned where public can challenge the government, the authorities, the people in power, and to increase the accountability and transparency. I think without these, we cannot move ahead easily or without any problems. And it is important to reduce, like many other countries, the authorities of political leadership. On the economic level, I think Iraq has major structural economic issues. The public sector dominates the country's economy and primarily dependent on the oil income, which really figure mentions between 90 to 95% of our income. And it's well over 80% of our foreign exchange earning. Our economy has to be diversified. To do so, private sector in Iraq must play a greater role. And for this, really, investment is the key role to enhance our private sector. And in the private sector, there are two major sectors which can easily be adapted by private sector: services and tourism. And at the same time, I think we have to get international help to rehabilitate or overhaul our banking system. Further, small and medium enterprise must be encouraged in Iraq and to be supported to increase their contribution to Iraqi economy. This, I think, by encouraging private sector, by encouraging small and medium enterprise, I think eventually our reliance on oil will be reduced. And we don't have much choice. I think Iraq is going through a very difficult time because of the oil price reductions. To give you an example, I think before this oil reductions, some of the budget of some of the ministries for investment reached billion, and in many cases in energy and other aspects reached number of billions of dollars per year. Now, the ministries which had $1 billion income as an investment or as a project cost, it has been reduced to probably minimum of 50 or 60 million a year. That reduction has affected the entire situation in Iraq. I think most of the Iraqi civil servants are still in their offices without anything to do these days. I'm coming to this, I mentioned that because I'm coming to the administration level in Iraq. Iraq is facing a running, highly cost of bureaucracy. As stated above economy, as Iraqi economy is dominated by employers of the government. And the cost is unbearable. I don't think any country in the world spends 70% of national income on salaries and government cost. Sorry?
Try to finish.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we do have really millions of people are employed by the government. And obviously, the government employers are not all capable or really contributing to the economy of the country. That's why it's quite important to nominate again, as it used to be in the past, Federal Public Service Council, which really can judge the employment of civil services. I think there are other issues which can be really added to what we have. For instance, digital transformation in Iraq and new methods of how you manage our country, our economy is quite important to be introduced. I know what I mentioned, the challenges are great and sometimes interwoven, but really to reform economy, we have to tackle these problems. And if I do assure you, if serious actions are taken in Iraq, I think there are amazing opportunities in Iraq. And all the problems can easily be overcome. Second, there are not only, I'm sure, of overcoming the problems, there are signs of this. For instance, Iraq has leapfrogged in many areas. For instance, communications. I think communications and satellite and internet in Iraq is probably more advanced than many other countries. And ultra-vast internet is functioning quite well in all over Iraq. And there are other aspects of life in Iraq. For instance, agriculture. Agriculture has to be modernized. And at one time, Iraq totally relied on agriculture. And nowadays, agriculture is not up to the standard which we can rely on it. I think these are all open doors for investments and open doors for encouragement. And let me just mention one thing for our British investors. I think if really they don't come to the market quickly, there are many other challenges from our side. I know some of the countries, they invest 100% on the projects. hopefully they get the money back after the completions. I'm not saying all the projects can be 100% invested in, but I think you should try it, and now is the right time and right place to go to Iraq and invest in Iraq. With saying that, thank you very much for listening and your patience.